the church is meant to be a household of households. And
Mm.
I really saw that at work here, where it's like, wow, people really care. And so for you, I'm sure that as you're casting vision and preparing the launch, you also have an emotional context that you're a part of, where you know people love you. And I remember, I think it was Rob who said, Steve will be here from time to time because he's got office space here, but it's not the same
Yeah.
because you are gone. I forgot you had I think a co-pastor, gone, and everybody's gone. I think it was Gabriel, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're over there and we miss them. And it's like, wow, you are being sent and not just leaving. And it does something, and I'll let you speak to this, but I think it does something for us, and especially as a man, to know that I'm being sent with love, encouragement, support. I know that if I had to, God forbid, I can come home. I know that when I go, people are going to support me and come and check on me. Can you speak briefly to that? Like I've always wanted to know that emotionally, right? I've never really known that to that degree, but what difference has that made to your ministry?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, I feel like I'm so blessed. Even though I kind of step back and like, yeah, we're doing something really hard in a really hard place, but I know it's like, I don't feel alone at all. Which is really cool. Because we have our sending church, we have our denomination, and then I have my extended family as well. That was another really helpful thing. Was, like I said, my wife and I both grew up in Pottstown. It's not Philadelphia, but it's an hour away. And so having my parents and having my wife's parents and our siblings who are all believers to be able to connect with as well. And so just having that, like I think the big danger is when a guy's alone, and they're alone, they don't have their biological family, they don't have a church family, and they don't have a denominational family. I think you're in a lot of danger if you have that. And the more of those other things you can get, the better. I mean, the more, the extent of your birth family is kind of like, it is what it is. I don't know if they're going to be supportive or not.
Right. That's it.
But beyond that, you can kind of pick, I'm going to really sink myself into this local congregation that is going to send me. And I'm going to sink myself into this denomination that's going to send me. And you can build those relationships and you can have those, kind of checking in with people and then checking in on you and getting together and them kind of taking you under their wing. And it's so life-giving. It really is. It's so life-giving, and it's worth the time and it's worth the effort because it's going to sustain a long-term thing. Like you can't see it as like a 1 or 2 year thing. It has to be like a 10 or 20 year thing where you're like really like staying in a spot and building something. And it just takes time, and that can be frustrating. So to have people to talk to about those frustrations is really helpful.
One of the things that was amazing for me, so we left, my son Gregory was born in June of 2019, and we had agreed in, I think, April to be a part of a church plant in West Philly. And I'm like, we've been coming to Grace City. We're not members at this point, but we've been coming for a year and a half, right? Yeah. While we're not members, it's not my fault, because people always ask me, is it your conviction to not be a member? Nope. I'm going to blame that on someone whose name will not be mentioned. But so we began to transition, I believe, in May, either April or May. And I talked to, Pastor Rob. At this point, Ian has moved on. He's planting in West Philly. And Grace City folks were still in our lives. Right. So we're planting in West Philly out Overbrook. And, when Gregory was born in June, folks from Grace City are bringing us meals. They're doing the meal train. Rob is still touching base. And I can say that this is where my logic didn't meet my emotions. My emotions prepared for judgment and rejection, because here's this guy that's leaving our church and he's going to plant. and I'm not expecting support, and I'm not mad about it. It's just that's how it goes. I want to go over here, and they're treating it as I'm leaving. I'm hearing from Rob all the time. Rob's coming by. Rob's talking to me. Do you need anything? How can we pray for you? And it feels good and weird at the same time. Because that's something that I'm not used to. Hey, you're not regional, you're not located with us, and yet we're with you.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, I could call Rob, I could talk to him. You know what I mean? And that feeling is so important. And I think sometimes, in terms of leadership, and especially as men, we're not accustomed to. We're accustomed to be strong. I got to see this through. And even I think in our vision, and I'll speak for me, of what it is to pastor, it's like, I'm going to walk through this with God, right? Me and Jesus. I have a personal relationship with Jesus. And as long as I got Jesus, don't need nothing else. And I'm going to walk through this. And you don't realize, man, almost right away, something's going to hit you hard. Something's going to test your ability to follow through, right? My pastor, where I came from, used to say, faith, footsteps, and follow through, like in the life of Joshua. You have faith. There's something that God has called you to do. You got to take the footsteps in that direction. But now the follow through is where it gets hard, because now you're going to have the moments where people are going to question stuff, or the first event isn't going to go the way you want, or the school you're trying to partner with doesn't really appreciate what you're doing, or they got a new principal. And it's like, okay, we're going to endure this. And then something else happens. And then it's like, well, what about the equipment? And we purchase sound and that doesn't work. And it's like, wait, I thought I had time to prepare my sermon. I didn't think we need to put the TV together on the stand and, all this other stuff. And you right away that gets dismantled. And I've known some men who were strong and would just push through, right? But they don't realize it's like you got a leak, man. You're losing power as you go, right? I really think, and I'm trying to say this carefully, you can have a strong prayer life and be close to the Lord and distant from people and not realize you're not as close as you think, because God intends for you to be in relationship. It can't be I'm the planter or the pastor or whatever kind of ministry leader, whatever, right? And I'm spending a lot of time with God, but I'm not spending time with my people, and I'm not pouring into them, and I'm not hearing what they have to say. And I have all these fears and doubts, and I'm just going to keep it to myself. I'm going to just keep going. And eventually, I think something's going to happen. I think Satan's going to exploit it, or you just break down. You know what I mean? And so that was a tangent.